elders within the family, the grandma, grandpa, the mom and dad, they are and were responsible for working through and processing some of their traumas so that they didn't pass it down to their children. Now, the reality is, in our today's time, most people are unaware of trauma work, and most people are not setting that intention to do the deeper emotional processing. So what does that mean? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. What exactly are we going to be discussing in this today's video? This is going to be a very, very, very important topic that literally so many people are currently in this moment unaware of. This is literally, I'm not even kidding you, this is one of the most serious things to look into in order to start living a life that you actually want to live, in order to start living a life that is completely authentic to you. And the first place that we really need to look with this is towards your family. Is your family hurting you? Is your family manipulating you? Is your family actually working in your best interest? This is exactly what I'm going to be discussing in this today's video. If you want to know a little bit more about these family dynamics and how important the family is, this is definitely a video for you. So you have one thing to do, and I will see you on the other side. Alright, let me first start with introducing myself just in case you don't know who I am. My name is JeremiahJSchwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck. I'm studied when it comes to planetary energies in association with astrology. And I am also studied when it comes to trauma and its relationship to the nervous system. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into our subject for today. So we are talking about family. Mom, dad, brother, sister, auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa. Is your family secretly hurting you? Is your family actively attacking you? Is your family one of the main reasons why you are unable to live the life of your fullest and highest potential? And potentially, are you unaware of this? This is where it gets wild. So this is what we're talking about in this today's video. Now, the first thing that I want to say is this. Family is important. Family is absolutely key. There is so much to learn from your family. There is so much love that exists within everyone's family, for the most part. And when I say that, like, I'm referring to on a more spiritual level. There's always love within the family, even if you came up in an extremely abusive family, because from one lens of looking at it, from a more spiritual lens of looking at it, you chose to be in the family that you are currently in. You made a decision to come down into that family, even if it was severely abusive. There was love there on some level because you are learning from what it is that you've experienced. And it has the opportunity to shape you into what you're meant to be. So, as I'm going to be making this video, I don't want to make people think that the family is all bad, or there's like a whole bunch of like negatives within the family that means your family is bad or means your family is evil or things in that nature. But what I am absolutely going to be covering is the reality of the family in this today's video, because there is a hard reality when it comes to family dynamics for every single human being that has a massive effect on the person. And most people are so unaware of how influential and how powerful those family dynamics are. So let's start here. Okay, the reality is, this may sound crazy to a lot of you, but this is the reality. The reality is most people and their family dynamics are absolutely dysregulated, which means most people's families, mom, dad, brother, sister, grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, however you are operating together as a family unit, that unit largely is dysregulated. Which means when you have a dysregulated family unit, that is going to dysregulate every single person that is a part of that family unit, that is actively participating. So how many of you understand or notice within yourself that there's almost like a specific role that you have within your family? When you go to gatherings, when you go to vacations together, when you visit each other, whatever the case is, do you ever find yourself kind of falling into a specific role? Like, this is who I am within this family dynamic. If you are a part of that family dynamic and you are actively participating, then you are in it, which means if it's dysregulated, then you are also going to be dysregulated yourself. And that is going to have a huge impact and a huge influence on your ability to live your life from an authentic space. In other words, you're not going to be able to live the life that's worth living. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be a satisfying type of lifestyle because you're going to be affected by this dysregulated family unit. You could think of the family unit as actively dysregulating every single person's nervous system that is a part of that family unit. Now, is this diabolical or is this intentional abuse? Is this cynical dysregulation that is happening within the family unit? Does that mean everyone's conscious of what they're doing and they're pulling strings and they're trying to be manipulative and they're trying to keep everyone else from living their purpose? No, that is not the case most of the times. Like 90% of the times, that's not what's actually happening. The reason why the family units are often very dysregulated is because the elders within the unit have not processed their traumas. And this becomes a generational trauma that passes down to the younger generations within the family. So in other words, the elders within the family, the grandma, grandpa, the mom and dad, they are and were responsible for working through and processing some of their traumas so that they didn't pass it down to their children. Now, the reality is, in our today's time, most people are unaware of trauma work and most people are not setting that intention to do the deeper emotional processing. So what does that mean? It manifests in certain types of behavioral patterns within the family, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, that are very toxic behavioral patterns where it's actually preventing another person from being authentic to who they are around them. So in other words, toxic behavioral patterns can manifest very commonly as there's tons of different narcissistic types of traits. There's tons of different codependency types of traits and things in this nature. These are very common dynamics that will manifest within families that have not processed or have not healed from certain traumas that they went through in the past. And of course, this gets passed down to the children. Now, what I'm saying here is that a lot of this stuff that goes unprocessed within the family line, what's happening now is all of this stuff is getting projected unconsciously. So when you have that repressed emotion within the nervous system from your trauma and you're not integrating it and you're not intending to work with it, then what you're doing is you are actually projecting that same negative emotional energy unconsciously onto others around you. This is what happens within most family dynamics. They become basically these cesspools for a bunch of unconscious projection of negative energy. Now, this is the wild part. A lot of the times, within the family dynamic, there will be tons of gaslighting, which means people will not acknowledge and they will not speak about the seriousness of what's actually taking place. So mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, maybe brother and sister, they don't acknowledge what's actually happening. No one is actually addressing the level of toxicity that is currently happening in the family. So there's all this unconscious negative energy being projected, and no one is taking responsibility for it, and no one is acknowledging it. Everyone's just assuming this is normal. This is what it means to be in a family. This is what we do. This is just what we've always done. And no one's addressing, hey, look, this was inappropriate. Hey, look, I don't like the way that this makes me feel. I don't know if I want to keep showing up for holiday dinners here. This doesn't make me feel good anymore. Why am I continuing to show up? I feel like there's no communication. I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. No one addresses the toxicity. No one addresses the unconscious negative projections. So people assume their roles within the family dynamic and they stay in them almost their entire lives and have absolutely no idea how much being in that family unit is affecting their ability to actually live their purpose, to actually live the life that they really want to live. I want you to think of it like this. Every person that you are a part of within your family, remember, everyone that's in your immediate family, there are significant energetic cords that connect you between these people. Significant energetic cords, because largely you are sharing the same bloodline. You are sharing a similar type of genetic code. So these genetic cords become very strong. These energetic cords become very strong when you are allowing yourself, that's the key word there, allowing yourself to be engaged with a dysregulated family unit. Those energetic cords that's connecting you to everyone who is unconsciously projecting negative energies, that is directly coming into you. You are consuming and taking in that negative toxic energy, and it is going to inherently dysregulate your nervous system. And when you have a dysregulated nervous system, you are not going inherently, once again, you are not going to be able to live the life that you truly want to live. It is impossible. You can accomplish certain types of things and get, make some progress, but you are going to be hindering yourself from your potential, and you're going to be missing out on a lot of love, a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, a lot of freedom. Now, once again, this is why most people are stuck in these toxic family units for their entire lives and never understand how significant they are. Mainly because this is so common in today's time. It is literally normal to have a dysregulated family unit where everyone's just kind of finding their roles within it. They're just playing their part, and they're just ignoring some of the serious things that they're actually feeling. Like, there are so many families where people aren't even telling each other that they love them. There's many family dynamics where some children, for example, to their parents feel like they can't say I love you to them. And they feel like they don't get I love yous back, right? Like, something that simple is a big deal, because if you unconditionally love someone, you should be able to tell them that you love them, almost every time you see them, or for sure every time they visit. And if that's not there, then that's showing a sign of something clearly that is dysregulated. But we live in a time where people will dismiss that as if it's not that big of a deal. Oh, well, whatever, I'll get over it. Maybe one day they'll tell me that they love me. Maybe one day the family will change. Maybe one day they're going to recognize what's actually taking place, and then I'm going to be able to live my life. No. It is so normal in our today's time for family units to be dysregulated that people assume that to be normal, when in reality, that is not normal. And I'm telling you right now, it will affect every area of you being able to live your life in the way that you want to live your life. Now, here's another reason why that is, especially when you are the children of the parents. When you are the children of your parents within the family dynamic, this is very important because your parents, mom and dad, were largely the ones that passed down a lot of their unhealed traumas to you through unconscious projection. So what does this mean? As the children, we carry a lot of those energies in our nervous system, of energies of recognizing in some way we're being taken advantage of. In some way we're harboring some form of resentment, some sort of anger, some sort of frustration, some sort of sadness, some sort of fear, considering the fact that our parents would even do that. Because we have this image oftentimes as we're growing up that our parents are invincible, our parents are these wonderful people that, made so many sacrifices for us to live. And I'm not saying that that's not a reality. I'm not saying that your parents don't love you and that they don't make sacrifices for you. But once again, largely what happens is there is a lot of unhealed trauma that then gets projected from the parents onto the children. And the children can sometimes, not even sometimes, always on more so a subconscious level, recognize what is happening, but on a conscious level, have no idea. So this is where that harboring of resentment takes place, and that harboring of anger and sadness and fear, mainly towards the parents. So this has a huge effect on anyone. I mean, think about how powerful that dynamic is when you're in a dysregulated family. You are carrying huge amounts of unconscious anger, sadness, and fear in your body. And that will never be able to be integrated and expressed and processed until you recognize you're carrying it unconsciously. And then when that happens, you're going to have to address some of those emotions, some of those traumas with your parents and even with your family. And if you never address that, you're just going to keep carrying these repressed negative emotions. And what is that going to do? It's going to keep manifesting into your conscious reality. You're literally going to hold yourself in a hell cycle. I like to call this a hell loop. You are holding yourself in this hell loop because you are refusing to address the root cause of a lot of these emotional energies you're carrying in your nervous system that were unconsciously passed to you from your parents. And once again, if you're unconscious of all this happening, then think about that. Think about how much room there is for dysregulation and how much room there is for things to not really work out in your life, or for a lot of bad things to happen when you don't even understand what's taking place. That's why, starting to set the intention and moving towards self-development becomes so monumental, becomes so important. But overall, this is most families in our modern times. Like most families, 90% of families are in these dysregulated units, and everyone is being affected by them, especially the children. It's especially the children, because the children are the ones that are supposed to break the generational curse, or they're the ones that have the potential to really break the generational curse and create a new way of living for the family unit. But once again, if mom and dad or grandma and grandpa have been wired in that way for so long because of their parents and because of their trauma, now it's become second nature for them. So they think it's normal, and they're going to willingly project that energy onto the children and affect them and actually hurt them. It's actually going to cause them to be unable to be authentic to themselves, and that is going to create so much room for hell on earth for anyone that is a part of that family unit, especially the younger generations, especially the children. Okay? Now, it blows my mind to see how significant this affects a person and how much people do not actually know this to be true, know this to be a reality. So I want you to also take a look at this, okay? I want you to take a look and consider this. When you look at most people, right? Most people that you have interactions with, most people that you communicate with, most people that you see, do you see people that you want to be like? Are you commonly interacting with people that you actually want to be like? Are you commonly interacting with people that you feel like you want to aspire to be more like? Or are you running into people and seeing people that are showing the opposite of what you're wanting in your life? More so, you're looking at other people and you're like, wow, I do not want to be like everyone else. I don't want to keep living in this cycle that everyone else seems to be living in. Why is everyone living such a mediocre looking life where it's almost like everyone is an unconscious slave to this system that we live in on this planet? If that's you, I want you to consider this. How many people that are living in that type of way are currently active and invested with their dysregulated family units? And when I say active and invested, I don't necessarily even mean, going out and visiting the family or showing up to the holiday dinners. I'm not just talking about that. I mean just being in contact with the family. Simple enough as picking up a phone call whenever someone from your family calls you, whenever mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle calls you, right? That is being active within the family unit. How many people do you think are currently active with their family units that are living mediocre lifestyles, that are living lifestyles that you don't want to live yourself? Take a second to actually think about that. Take a second to reflect on yourself and ask yourself, am I where I currently want to be in life? Am I in a position that I feel like I want to be in? Do I feel like I'm living my purpose right now? Do I feel like I'm living out my highest potential? And am I active with my family? Do I talk to them on a daily basis? Am I going to family dinners? Am I meeting up with them? Are those doors open to them? Okay, well, if the answer is yes, then you're getting closer to realizing a pretty significant truth in modern times. Most people are active with their family units to some extent. This doesn't mean that they like their family. This doesn't mean that they're happy within their families. It means that the doors are open from them to their family. Those energetic cords are solid. Okay? So in other words, there's no boundaries there for the most part. Now, there is a significant reality for people that are living from a space of purpose and living from a space of authenticity and freedom in life. And one of the biggest proponents to people living in that way is that often either they had regulated family dynamics or they have cut off the family pretty significantly by establishing healthy boundaries between them and their family members. This is a reality and this is significant, and you can see the differences in one person who has boundaries with their family or who comes from a regulated family dynamic compared to someone who's in a dysregulated family dynamic and feels like they have to continue to be a part of it just because that's normal or just because that's the morally good thing to do. Huge differences. People's lives change drastically once they realize their families are dysregulated, and then they start addressing some of those root causes with them. And when they start realizing the family's not trying to heal those root causes, then they can create boundaries and separate themselves from the dysregulated unit. And then guess what? They can start regulating their own nervous system and no longer have to be in this dysregulated family unit where they were actually being taken advantage of in the first place because they were showing themselves an act of unself-love by allowing themselves to even be in the family unit in the first place. Because if mom and dad were projecting all their unconscious negative traumas onto you as the child, why would you allow yourself to have that happen to you? That would be ridiculous. So of course, when it comes down to it, allowing yourself to remove from that toxicity or remove yourself from that dysregulation can be absolutely fundamentally necessary. And that creates a lot of room and a lot of space for real deep healing to occur. And once again, I'm not even joking you. You will see this as a common pattern for people that are in regulated family units or have completely created boundaries with their families towards being successful, living a life of authenticity, living a life of purpose, living a life of freedom, compared to other people, most people that are in this like more so slave-like state where they just wake up every single day, they do the same things every day. It's like they know exactly what to expect every day. Oh, I know what this is going to be like. All right, well, same old, same old. Yep, I'm used to it. Yep, I'm used to this life being so shitty. Yep, this is all that life has to offer for me. There's not much more out there. Huge differences. Okay, that's how powerful the family unit is. Do not let this go over your head. Now, obviously, if you want to stay in your family unit, if it's dysregulated and you don't want to acknowledge some of the things that I'm talking about, that's completely fine. You know, I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just sharing exactly what I know. And I know this also from personal experience. Let me share a little bit of my experience to give you an example of what I'm talking about and how powerful it is. First thing first, when I was living with my dad when I was 22 years old, which is not that long ago. So 22, I'm 28 right now. So 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So I would say roughly, because it was the end of 22, so roughly 7 years ago, I was living with my dad and I was living in his basement. He was an extreme narcissistic person, and just living with him, being a part of that, being a part of this aspect of my family dynamic was enough to completely drain me dry of any of my creative potential, of my, life spark and my authenticity. So when I was living with him, I was unable to do anything that I truly wanted to do because I didn't even acknowledge how much of an effect my relationship had with him on me. I had no idea how much he was taking energy from me. I had no idea really how much anger I was harboring towards him unconsciously. I just didn't understand these things. I was too young to really understand that. So when I left his home, I had an opportunity from my mother to leave his home. She gave me an opportunity to come down and live in Florida, and I was able to stay with her for a little bit. And during that time, just leaving his home, I ended up, like within that same year, I ended up starting my YouTube channel. Okay, I ended up recording videos. It started off with recording videos on my phone. And right around that time, like literally right when I left, I started naturally gravitating towards things that I was interested in. And one of those things was my own spiritual practice, which was the occult. So I started practicing with the occult right when I left my father's environment. I was unable to do any of that when I was living with my father because I didn't have the energetic capacity to. That's how influential being in that environment was. Now, on a surface level, it looked like I technically could have did whatever I wanted. I mean, I was still a sovereign human being. I could make my own decisions. I could do whatever I wanted, but on a more so unconscious, subconscious level, my energy was being zapped from me. It was being drained from me. So I just didn't have the will. I didn't have the intention to know what was in my best interest, really. It was like I was living in a mirage. I was living in this dream state. And I didn't know I was in the dream. That's the craziest part. Now, when I left, I started waking up. My emotions started surfacing through my nervous system, and I started processing them. And now I'm listening to them. I'm following them. I'm engaging with my own forms of spirituality, and that's when I got into the occult. Okay, that was the beginning stages of me being right here, right now, in this present moment. Now, from that point, then I ended up moving away from my mom eventually. And as soon as I moved away from my mom, I went from Florida to San Diego. This is like on the other side of the United States from where both of my parents live, actually. That's exactly when my business blew up. Right when I left my mother and my stepdad in Florida, my business literally blew up. And I never had to work a normal job again. And that is where I'm currently at right now in this moment. And I noticed these things. I noticed these little patterns here. I noticed how when I left my family, my life started to significantly improve on an emotional level for myself. And I didn't understand at the time the reason for that. I didn't understand the connections. I didn't understand, wait a minute, when I left my parents, this is when major shifts started taking place in my life. Now, with where I'm at now, I can clearly look back and I can see why that was. It's everything that I'm talking about in this video. There was tons of trauma that was unaddressed within my own nervous system that needed to be addressed. And in order for me to even have a relationship with my family, because I was carrying so many repressed emotions in my body from the stuff that I went through from my family, and I was always allowing myself to be in the family unit. You know, every single year we go out and we visit like my cousins and you know, my auntie and everything, and my grandma and grandpa. And I love my family to death. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love all of my family. But it got to the point when I realized, like, I feel like I'm sacrificing my purpose or my full potential to be a part of this family unit. Like, there are things that people are not addressing within this family that I'm able to see. And of course, you know, if I try to address it, it's going to cause some form of a discord, and, you know, everyone else is going to get defensive because they're defending the family toxicity. That's often what happens, because once again, when your parents are acting a certain way or your grandparents are acting a certain way, the reason why they're acting the way they are is because of the you know, once again, the trauma they went through and the way that they had to cope with the trauma. So being a narcissist or being a codependent is a manifestation of coping with severe trauma. So when you're trying to like change your parent's mind or change the abuser's mind because you see underneath, like because you see where they're coming from, like you see the abuse they went through, and you can start to understand why they're acting the way they are, the way that they're behaving, you're not going to change it easily. Like, you're going to meet resistance. You're going to meet a defense mechanism, because that way of behaving for them, the way where they're projecting their negativity on you unconsciously, is that's how they survive. That's the personality, that's the ego that they've identified with to literally survive in everyday life. So, of course, you trying to explain and address some of those emotional root causes of how your family unit is affecting you, it's not going to go well oftentimes. It's not going to be an easy process, which means it takes patience and it takes time, but it takes also courage and directness to also know where your personal capacity is to even have some of these conversations. So what I was basically saying, though, is, once again, in my personal life, when I created boundaries with my family, just by simply leaving the environment that they were in, my life showed some pretty significant improvements. Like, big things surfaced up, valuable things. Now, the deeper I go with my trauma work, the more I'm able to actually address these root causes. And as I address some of those root causes, I do meet defense from family. So what I do is I create hard boundaries with them. So what this means is I will literally block them on my phone, and I will remove myself from that relationship for the time frame until, if they really want to be a part of my life, if they have a capacity to unconditionally love me, until they decide they are ready to really address the emotional root cause of the reason why I feel like I've been manipulated or I feel like I've been abused by them. And if they're unwilling to do that, then I will live the rest of my life with this boundary in place. I will understand where they're coming from. I still have love for them, but our relationship is going to change. There's not going to be active communication. There's not going to be, we're meeting up every single year to have family Christmas and all that other stuff. It's going to be, hey, we're going to address some of these root causes and we're going to heal together, or I'm simply going to remove myself from this family dynamic and I'm going to give myself the life that I deserve. And eventually I'm going to create my own family that is regulated. And I'm not going to continue living this generational family trauma over and over and over again. I'm absolutely not going to pass this down to my children. I don't want that for them. I don't want that for myself, because that is karma. So this is the family system. This is the family dynamic. This is how powerful this stuff really is. And I'm a testament to how powerful it is. Okay, now you can work things out with certain members of your family that are willing to do the healing with you. Not everyone's family is going to have that capacity. I would honestly go as far as saying most people's parents are going to be unwilling to do the healing work. With me, I found opportunities to do healing work with my mother, but I also have to realize she's not always ready to address the deeper roots that I'm addressing. So I still have to create boundaries with her, hard boundaries, but she understands where I'm coming from, or I have to get her to understand. Well, no, I don't have to get her to understand. What I'm saying is I will communicate what I am perceiving and what I'm seeing, and generally she will understand where I'm coming from, even if she knows within herself she's unwilling to go there, and I will still create that hard boundary. So it doesn't have to end on like a cold I'm out or like a fuck you, I'm gone kind of thing. It's like, hey, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm going through, I'm gonna not talk to you for a period of time, and then, you know, at some point later down the road, we can reconnect and see if we can address some of these emotional root causes again. If we're unable to, then I'm just going to re-establish that boundary and continue living my life. And that's where I'm at now, and it's very valuable. Okay, I feel like this is one of the missing keys in self-development that so many people bypass. So many people do not fully acknowledge, and this is essential, like so important. All right. Now I will even go as far as saying this. This is another big one. So there's a lot of people that are, especially like you will see this in the spiritual community and definitely within the occult community. There is a lot of people. And this is general too. This is like mass collectively. This is not just the spiritual community, not just the occult community. This is general. There's a lot of people that have an underlying sense that we are living in an evil world, that we're living in a sinister reality, like things are out to get them. Things are watching them that want to take advantage of them. Things are evil, right? There's a lot of people that live from this space of consciousness. I have a theory that proposes the reason why most people are living in this very dualistic reality, largely, and when I say living in it, what I mean is like allowing themselves to only see it from that good and evil lens, is largely because they are actively a part of toxic, dysregulated family units where their parents, who they think love them, are actually projecting negative energies on them unconsciously, giving the child or giving the person in the family the sense of being taken advantage of constantly, but in the unconscious. So they're not even aware of what's happening within the family dynamic. Therefore, on a nervous system level, they can sense something is off, something is happening. There is some form of abuse taking place, but they can't put their finger on it. So what they do is they actually project it externally into society or into the planets or onto the galaxy, the universe, and think that we're living in this evil, cynical reality where things are always out to get them and things are trying to manipulate them and take advantage of them, when really the manipulation is actually rooted in your mom and your dad projecting their trauma on you, but telling you they love you and you not understanding what's happening. So you are just jolly living your life thinking, oh, my mom and my dad love me so much, and my grandparents, they love me so much, my sister and brother, they love me so much, you know, they've done so much for me, when underneath they've actually been projecting huge amounts of their unconscious traumas on you, which has been hindering you and has been hurting you and preventing you from living your purpose. Now, once again, I have to make this clear. I'm not saying that your parents don't love you. I am not saying that your grandparents or anyone in your family doesn't love you. I can imagine most of you have families that where your parents really do dearly love you, but once again, because of their traumas, they don't know how to love you. Have you ever heard that saying before where it's like you can love something, but you also have to know how to love something? Because if you're loving something from the wrong space, you could actually be hurting that thing, and you don't even know that's what you're doing. All right, that is what I'm talking about when it comes to the family dynamic. This is the most common pattern. Families love their children. They love the grandchildren. Everyone has love for each other in the family, but underneath, on a more so raw, honest, authentic level, there is huge amounts of resentment, huge amounts of negative emotions that are consistently being repressed. People are holding them back, and this is causing everyone in the family unit to suffer to some degree. It's causing pain on everyone in the family unit, but reality is most likely no one's going to address it because no one is aware of what's actually happening. And then the other reality is it is affecting everyone in the family. Every single person, because of that concept that I was speaking about with the energetic cords connecting to everything, every person in your family. So you have these energetic cords connecting to everybody, and you're taking in all that energy of dysregulation, all that energy of repression, and that, of course, is going to affect every other area of your life. You're going to have trouble getting relationships. You're going to have trouble having financial freedom. You're going to have trouble with all different types of things. So look into that. When you create boundaries, you are cutting these energetic cords. When you come from healthy, regulated family dynamics, your family will actually let you live your life, and they will be there for you when you need them. They won't always try to be calling you all the time, or always try to get you to be involved with the family things that are going on. They will let you live your life, and they will see what is also in your best interest and want you to live that way. So it's just so wild how significant this principle, this property is right now, okay? So this was the video. This is exactly what I wanted to speak about. This is so important. Now, I also want to say there is a certain type of therapy that is called family systems therapy. If anyone wants to seek, more help or more understanding on the family dynamic and how potentially that could be affecting you, and you may not even be fully aware of how much it is affecting you, look into family systems therapy. Okay, if you type that in on the internet or on Google, I'm sure you'll find someone that is able to do that type of therapy. But also make sure that if you do this and you meet with a therapist, don't just say, okay, I'm signing up with a therapist and that means that they're the best. Sometimes it takes time to go through different therapists to find the right one that you connect with. Because not every therapist, just because they have a degree, means that they're very good at what they do. All right? Now, obviously, I can help people work through this stuff as well. I'm not specialized with family systems, but I obviously understand the nature of family dynamics and how important they are, and I help people see a lot of the things going on in their family and to help them process those repressed emotions underneath and to, once again, help them navigate some of those family circumstances. I do this actively with my clients, and it's very successful, okay? So if anyone's interested in booking with me, that's the second link below. But other than that, this is what I need to say. I'm going to wrap it up here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. If this video offered you value, and if you feel like this potentially could have shifted your life direction because now you're conscious of something that you previously weren't conscious of. This is one of those things that almost on a mass collective level, people are like this about. Shh, shh, don't speak about this stuff. Shh, we all love our families. Shh, family's wonderful. Shh, it's wild, I'm telling you. Okay, so drop down in the comment section. Let me know what you learned from this video. Let me know if you are picking up what it is that I am putting down. I would love to hear that. Hit the notification bell. Get notified whenever I'm posting. You do not want to miss out on this content. Now also drop down and hit the subscribe button, because by subscribing, you are further linking into my content. There's a real energetic component there. So make sure you are subscribing. All right. Now also, if you know anyone that needs to hear this, please, by all means, share this with them. Copy and paste this link and send it to them. Don't let this go over your head, and let this, don't let someone miss out on this opportunity that needs to hear this message. I'll leave that there. Now, if you go down to the first link in the YouTube description, this is my Patreon. On my Patreon, this is an entire vault of exclusive occult content, literally an entire vault. All right? There's over 250 videos that are not actively on my Patreon. That are not actively on my YouTube channel. They are only accessible on the Patreon. Tons of valuable content. Deep occult knowledge, occult practices, true self-development, things that are similar to this. I literally have a video that goes into this subject in even more depth. Okay, it's titled, Is Your Family Dangerous? So I have all kinds of stuff on my Patreon like that. And then at tier number 3 and tier number 4, this is an actual ritual service for people that are going to be participants of those tiers. This is primarily for people that are more in resonance with the left-hand path. So if that's you, then this service would be for you. This is an energetic transfer from me to the participant that completely sets them on the path of authentic self-development with the left-hand path. It starts surfacing repressed emotions so that they can start processing them and also creating a foundation for themselves. It sets that stage to do this. It is offering them an energetic guide from me to them. So based on everything that I've experienced and based on all of the occult initiations that I've been through and where I'm at right now, I am transferring my energy field into the active receiving participant to be able to use me as an energetic guide through their self-development process. All right. It also sets the stage where you gain vampiric qualities, conscious vampiric qualities, where you can start pulling in energy from dark energy and chaos and turn it into your own power and evolutionary potential. So if there is an abuser in your life who is currently attacking you or trying to take advantage of you, you can start pulling this false self energy, in other words, this ego identity of the abuser out of them, turn it into your own power and evolutionary potential, and then leave them in a space where all their repressed negative emotions start surfacing and they have to face them. So in other words, you basically become an initiator of karma itself. And this is very powerful. Okay, and this is not a joke. This is real deal conscious occult vampirism. Not taking energy from people that are living their life's purpose or living from a space of authenticity, but doing it towards inauthenticity, artificial consciousness. All right? We are like the cosmic cleaners of the planets. Now, you also get entrance into an Atlantean crystal grid, which is an energetic matrix grid that I've designed that all the participants get placed into. And what it does is it gives them a constant streamline of energy that supports their self-development process with the left-hand path specifically. As of right now, there are about 430 members on the Patreon that are a part of the Patreon, and there are about 200 plus active participants that are taking place of this ritual service. This is one of the most powerful, popular services that I offer. Okay? So if you want to take advantage of it, first link in the description, definitely look into it. Tier number 3 or 4. We'll leave it there. Now the second link, once again, that's where you can book a one-on-one call with me or mentorships. We work on building your foundation. We do emotional processing. We do deep level trauma work. And then eventually we can transition into some of the deeper initiatory practices of Qlippothic initiation. Okay, and we don't have to go there, but if that's something that you do want to do, we absolutely can. All right, so that's the second link below. Right now, I've got basically 8 ongoing long-term mentorships. I have room for a couple more, so if you want to get in, now is the time. Third link below is the LUCIFERS Foundation course. This is a very valuable course. This is a course that is, once again, not for the beginner. This is for someone that has a very serious intention. So if you are a beginner and you have a very serious intention, this course is for you. This is also for active practitioners already. This course gives you everything you need to know to develop a very healthy and strong relationship with Lucifer. Guided meditations, subconscious reprogramming, setting up your ritual space, setting up an altar, more education on shadow work and trauma work, creating a contract with Lucifer, and more education on where everything is headed once you've done these things. You get access to 11 modules for the rest of your life, and the entry to take advantage of this course is $333, which is absolutely nothing, honestly. Okay. Now, it also functions in 2 payments if you can't get in for $333. So the first month you can pay $172, and then the second month you can also pay $172, and then you have access. So if this is something you want to look into, definitely do it. That is the 3rd link below. 4th link below is where you can become a YouTube member. So first thing first, I would love to have you a part of the YouTube community. It's a super fun community. It's fun to have your name appear as green and then get a little neat badge that appears as well. You get YouTube members only content where I am breaking down music videos specifically. YouTube members only live chats. That's probably one of the most valuable benefits of a YouTube membership. Exclusive emojis that can actually be used as a form of psychic warfare on anyone who's an abuser to you. Very valuable. And special shoutouts whenever you're doing those. Whenever I'm doing these streams, I give you special shoutouts. So if you want to look into that, that is the 4th link below, YouTube membership. Check it out. 5th link is the EMF incense sticks. These are literally the most powerful incense sticks on the planet. I am not exaggerating that. Every single one of these sticks is like a ritual within itself, and I encourage you, if you want to try it, purchase a bundle, compare it to your local shop's sticks, and you will see a significant difference. All right, so if you want to look into that, 5th link below, you place your order and we will have them directly shipped out to you. The final link below is my book recommendations for you. If you are looking for a book to study to gain more understanding and more knowledge on the initiatory system of the occult, this is exactly where you need to go. The 72 Ars Goetic demons, the 72 angels, the tunnels of Set, the 22 major arcana, the Qlippoth and the Sephiroth. All of this advanced occult information broken down in a very practical and understandable way, all at your fingertips in one location. So you don't need to keep cross-referencing everything anymore. You have it all right here. So if you want to look into this, if you want to take advantage of it, definitely do so. This is going to be accessible at that final link below. So I'm going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to wrap it up. I appreciate all of you very, very, very much, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.